2013 saw Michael Owen retire from professional football. It was a career that spanned 17 years and saw him play for the likes of Newcastle United, Manchester United, Liverpool and Real Madrid. He represented his country on no less than 89 occasions, and despite his retirement, his passion and ambition for sporting success still burns bright. We've come down to Manor House Stables in Cheshire to catch up with Michael and the team and get an insight into one of the most forward-thinking training centres in the country. Morning, mate.
How are we? Welcome to Manor House.
Thanks, mate. Not riding out today?
Not right now, give me a chance. I'm only just stopped playing, but no, I'll have more of that later. But yeah, welcome. Do you want me to show you around?
Yeah, that'd be magic, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Michael. So this is where it all began, and when it started, it was a massive project you undertook. Obviously, it's not just you involved. You've got trainers, stable lads, and we're going to meet the trainer now, Tom Dascombe. Tom, how are you?
Hi.
Good
How are
to see
you? Hi.
We're just sort of coming back to, I guess, the sort of seed that you planted initially, which started here at Barn 3, and obviously it's grown into this massive operation, which we're going to take a look around now. I suppose when you undertook the project, there was so much to do, but it was back then an incredibly exciting time for you.
Yeah, I think back then it was a passion that I wanted to do myself in many ways, in that I had so many horses in training that the bug had hit me. So, but as everyone knows, training fees are not cheap. So I was thinking this every single month is a little bit excessive. What if we flip it on its head? You know, I employ a trainer to do it, and then almost it stays within the business. So. And that was the idea at the start. So I bought this farm, well, put a gallop in and changed this old grain store into stables. From then, that's when it's some would say got out of hand, but that's when it got serious, and that's when obviously, you know, the phone call was put into Tom to try to entice, you know, one of the best trainers around to come and take over.
Tom, you didn't know Michael bar the odd phone call, a meeting before you decided to move up from Lambourne. Was it a scary move for you, or was it again, like Michael's saying, was it an exciting time?
Yeah, I mean, of course it was exciting, but I mean, you know, as you say, I mean, I'd met Michael probably once or twice, had a couple of phone calls, and obviously, you know, Andrew Black got involved with the yard as well. But I mean, from day one, when I said, well, we need to build a new gallop and do this and do that, and you know, they've always agreed and just, you know, done it. What
were your concerns? Because from an outsider looking in, and I know you were asked this a lot in the early stages, but it could have been sort of a boys' club in a way, a footballers' club, and you're just going to be a private trainer for Michael and friends in and around football, but that isn't the case,
no,
and that's not the case.
It was
now.
never really going to be like that, because when I moved here, we had brought sort of 90 horses with us from Lambourne. I mean, all my owners moved here, bar 2. So it was never going to be just, you know, a private operation, sort of, you know, Tom Dascombe trains for Andrew Black and Michael Owen. That was never the idea. The idea was that Andrew and Michael would have horses here, but so would everybody else.
Did those sort of inevitable questions annoy you at the start?
They did, because it was never meant to. I mean, if I was going to own the place and have all my horses on site, it would be, you know, it'd be too expensive. So it was always a case of, if I can build my own place, this is back in the early days, but then have a few owners as well to obviously help the business sort of get on its feet, then that was the intention from day one. But obviously people's perception was, well, you know, well, in the early days, certainly, because a lot of the horses were mine, it was every time, you know, your trainer's name was in the paper, my colours were next to it, so the association was like that right from the start. So changing that view, I mean, now we've got 90 odd horses. I'm probably involved, or I own maybe 5 of them horses.
So we've got
a, you know,
really?
yeah, exactly. Andrew Black would have a few more than me. So we've got 75 horses that are purely owned by outside owners, which is exactly how we want it to be. So, you know, that perception's probably changed now, and obviously Tom's done a lot to change that, and we've had, you know, some big winners for other owners, and that's exactly how it should be.
And that was something you were very conscious of at the start, wasn't it? You want to remain open to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously we've got 90 stables here. You know, it would be ridiculous to think that Michael and Andrew Black are going to have 90 horses in training. I mean, that would be hugely expensive. And I still occasionally get the odd person that says, you know, oh, I'd like to come and have a look around your yard, but I understand you're a private trainer. You know, so of course, you know, it's important to keep still getting that message out, because, you know, we're here to train for everybody and anybody, and Bert and Michael have horses here, but so can anybody else.
Before we have a look at sort of, this is the initial starting point, before we carry on, just you two together, it could have gone one or two ways, I suppose, because you didn't really know each other, and you've had to build up a working relationship and probably a personal relationship as well. Through the years, have you built up a friendship?
Well, I'd like to think so, yeah. I mean, it's...
I'll wait for his answer in a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here a lot more than Andrew Black. Certainly in the last few months now, I've stopped playing football, and my business is sort of based here as well. So yeah, I mean, but on every relationship like that, there's not many. I mean, apart from me and my wife that met each other when we were about 2, then apart from that, you go through life building relationships, and you know, if we had met each other on the first time and thought I can't get along with him, then I'm sure we wouldn't have agreed to go on this journey, and that's proved the right decision, obviously.
Did you think early on in that first meeting, that first phone call, right, this is going to be a successful partnership? Be honest. Yeah,
I mean, no, I mean, yeah, Michael asked me to come here, and I trained for Andrew Black in Lambourne, and at the time Bert was looking for a yard for me, so I said to, you know, Andrew, what do you think about perhaps getting involved with Michael and doing something there? And as soon as I mentioned it to Michael, he said yeah, and I thought, well, you know, if you're willing to sort of, without thinking about it, get involved with other people, you know, it's got to be a goer. And I mean, I would consider us mates. Yeah. Although I work for him, you know, I think even if I left tomorrow, we'd still talk and get on.
Which is great, and I guess that's one of the reasons why you've had so much success in a way, because you are friends first and foremost. When the whole project started, was there very much a case of you, Michael, saying, Tom, tell me what you need and we'll put it in place, or were you very hands-on in the sort of the building of Manor House stables? Well,
in the initial stages, I was very hands-on, because it was only me here, obviously, with the previous trainer. But as soon as Tom had a look round, then he wanted to put certain things in place for him to succeed here, and the main thing was the gallop. And it was obviously a rush to get it ready for that first season. Apart from that, everything's grown quite naturally. More horses you get, the more barns you've got to put up. That's quite inevitable. But you know, we've gone swimming pools, we've gone veterinary centres, we've done quite a lot of things in the meantime, and that's just grown with the business really. And obviously Tom coming here and bringing his business to Manor House as well, it accelerated the process, because we already had horses here, and obviously combining the 2 yards, we were up and running quite quickly.
I think you've got a future in this media game, Michael, because now we're going to have a look at the other barns, the swimming pools, and the whole process that's grown quite naturally. If we head down to the next barn and we'll carry on the tour. This is where Manor House Stables as it is now all started back in the day.
That's right, this was an old grain store, and we had it transformed into 20 boxes. So now we have 20 horses in here, and it works really well, airy. Got a lot of room, and yeah, this is where it all began. We started having a little bit of success out of this barn, and then obviously had to expand a little bit, and outside is where we started expanding.
So obviously once you had a bit of success, once you realised you needed to expand, initially you've come here and put a few loose boxes up, Tom.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was the first step to just increase the capacity a bit by another 20 stables. So we put the wooden boxes up. As you can see, they're all round here. And that gave us sort of 40 stables as opposed to 20.
Was it hard to sort of move with the times as you were sort of expanding to keep on top of things, or was it a natural progression?
No, it was, I mean, it just means more staff, more, you know, slightly bigger operation, but it's, you know, of no significant consequence, really. I mean, the next stage was a bigger decision. And I mean, I'm sure Michael will tell you about that.
Because actually, at this point, you're now firmly in the game to a level, and it was a decision you needed to make with Andrew, with Tom, whether to sort of sink or swim, whether to kick on, I suppose.
That's right. Well, we got 40 horses, 40 boxes, but in racing terms, this is pretty cheap. You know, you chuck up your boxes, and it was cheap. The land that I bought was always going to have a value. So the next decision was the big decision. You know, another 50 boxes, plus all the things that go with it, the admin side, the owner's room. It was going to be a huge investment, and it was at that point that Andrew Black came in, and we decided, let's go for it.
And from here, you decided to go for it down there?
Down this way. Let's go.
Right, mate.
So this is barn 2, and you've obviously got barn 1, which we'll get to in a moment, but this is the start of the main expansion, I suppose, Tom.
Yes, I mean, this is where it sort of went to another level, really. I think we're clear to go in now.
One more, 2 more. You might have to give a leg up here as well, Tom.
I mean, if you look at these stables, they're very different in that they've got double aspects, so the horses can see out of the back, fresh air, central, what's the word I'm looking for, ventilation. They've got drains either side, so they're easily cleaned. They're often washed out and fumigated, and
spacious as well, isn't it?
yeah, there's plenty of room, as you can see down the middle of the barn. The horses can walk down without being bitten by the horses in the stables.
Yeah. And this is third lot going out. Is it third lot?
Yeah, this is third lot. We keep all the colts in these barns and all the fillies around the back, so they're separate. Part of the reason for that is the boxes around the back are a lot warmer. These, as you can imagine, here in the winter, they get cold, so the fillies come in their coats better in the warmer barns.
What was from your point of view, Michael, what was the sort of deciding factor about, right, we want to expand? What was it? I mean, you've got the bug, you've had the bug as a racing fan for years. You've been a massive fan, but was it becoming more of a business now from your point of view?
Well, the business was almost working, and I can, you know, I can justify the number of horses that we've got to go and have a crack at it. Really, it was a when I look back, a big move at the time, because as we all know, it's not just about building and buying a place and all the rest of it. But then a lot of the time you've got to fund the you know, the ongoing costs, the horses that you're going to have in training. So it's a bit like buying a Premier League team. People expect that's it then, but then the fans expect you to go and shove another 100 million in.
Premiership team, did you?
Well, I've probably done the next worst. But no, it was such a passion. It's something that I knew my life was going to be, you know, spent doing something like this, and having the pleasure of owning something like this. And I decided that's what I want to do.
Did you then think, well, I don't know how long I've got left as a Premiership footballer or as a professional footballer, so I want to expand the project so that when I do retire, I've got something in place, like my hobby's in place, it's where I want it to be. Was it as early as back then, or was that completely unrelated, the football side of it and the racing side of it wasn't related?
Yeah, it was something that I knew I wanted, or I was going to have as a passion for the rest of my life. That was it. So I wanted to make it the best I could, basically. You know, going forward, I always knew that, you know, working or whatever, it'll always stay in football. That's where, you know, my expertise lies, really, whether it's talking about it, playing it, or whatever it might be. This was always going to be my passion and my hobby, and it was never intended to be somewhere where it's going to make me money, or it was a you know, an investment or anything like that. I know this costs money, this game, but it's something that I love, and I'm prepared to stomach that cost, and I'll earn my money elsewhere, basically.
Did you think when you started, Tom, you would be with this barn and the barn that we're going to have a look at in a moment? Did you think you would be at this stage as soon as you were?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, obviously it takes a bit of time, but I mean, the idea was always to, you know, get this far quite quickly. I mean, I think we nearly took over 4 years ago or something. So, you know, it's all happened in a relatively short space of time. It's taken a bit of time, obviously, to get to know everything. But I think we're getting there, you know.
And also, as well, getting in place elements of a training centre, the swimming pool, the veterinary centre.
Also staff.
Staff, yeah.
You know, staff accommodation. You know, this doesn't happen just overnight with the, you know, you've got to build everything. Office staff.
How many came from Lambourne with you?
10. And I think we've got about 35 employees now. There's 180 acres. So we've got 2 guys just full time, you know, gallops, doing the gallops, cutting the grass, making repairs. So, you know, it's quite a big operation.
Did you hold sort of X Factor style auditions, you two, sitting down?
Not quite. Tom does all that.
Were you involved in the sort of hiring and
no.
Firing? I suppose, if
Tom does all that. That's his domain. Obviously, our domain are the facilities, or well, providing what Tom needs, basically, whether that be horses or facilities. Go on, dog.
Dog's in the way.
Yeah.
There's more facilities around the corner. Tom, just a couple of interesting points, because we're coming to a sort of the parallel barn here, barn 1. A couple of interesting points from the conversation we had in barn 2. Staff and ventilation, which I want to expand on. Firstly, the staff, because in each of these barns, you've got your own barn manager, I suppose.
That's right, yeah. We try and sort of break it down into 4 different areas with colts and geldings, fillies round the back. So each barn has a barn manager, and they're responsible for 24 horses in this barn, which means that they've got 3 or 4 yardmen in each barn to muck out. They've got their own feed rooms in each barn, so they're responsible for making sure they got all the right feed in here, the right additives, products that we give each individual horse. There's a list of temperatures which has got to be completed every day, and they then just check round in the afternoons, making sure every horse has done the right exercise.
And they would report back to you. Individual barn manager would come back with you.
They would report back to maybe our head lad who oversees everything, or me if I'm here, if I'm not racing. Yeah.
Ventilation as well, because if we just have a sort of a look at one of the boxes, you've got back windows, so air into the box.
Yeah.